Yeah, well, so what I'm going to do is, I forgot I actually have this in here, but I do have a plan to let you practice just a little bit more with a random number generator. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So if you go a little bit further back in this lesson and you go to the practice, keep going back. It's after the other way. Sorry, when I say back, I mean go to later pages. Yeah, so it's page, stop right there. M592 is where you want to be. All right. And so we're not going to do all of the different questions because you'll notice if you look at question 2, I think it's talking about stratified random sample, cluster sample, things like that. What we're going to just do is look at the simple random sample and we're going to sample 6 scores. What I want you to do is I want you to do this once using a random digit table and then once using a random number generator. Does that make sense? And so identify which sample was gotten from the random digit table, which one was from the random number generator. And so we're just going to look for 6 golfers and we're going to find those averages. And we're going to talk about what the average score was. Oh yeah. What? Golfers 1 through 12 are professional football players, that's right. Golfers 13 through 24 are professional baseball players, and we're comparing, or looking to see what their overall average was. So, I will point this out, when you use a random digit table, how many digits do you need to use on the random digit table?
3. 2.
Why is it only 2 this time?
Because it's on 2.
Well, and so remember we chose 3 yesterday because what was the last word? How many words were there? 348, right? So we needed 3 digits to match the largest or the last word. Here was the largest number for the golfers. 24, right? So the biggest only needs 2 digits, and so that's something you need to account for, right? So we would just use 2 digits on the random digit table this time around. All right? So let's work with each other. Let's use the random digit table that's, I think, a page or 2 before where you are. You don't have to use all the same line. Use different lines, see what averages you come up with. Use the calculators to do a random number generator and get 6 different golfers and find the average score of those golfers. What are your questions before I release you? Emma.
You said try to do the random digit table on page 90?
Yeah, so you're going to complete number 1 once using the random digit table. You're going to complete it once using the random number generator. Okay? And so you'll just select 6 golfers with the random digit table, find the average. 6 golfers with the random number generator, find the average. Alright? You have groups to talk with, to bounce ideas off of and ask, hey, how are you approaching this? I will come around and see how you're doing if you have questions. I will also use this time to collect the homework. Let's go ahead and get to work.
Hmm? 92.
You'll be 24 this time, right? Because that's the last number for the golfers. Yeah. And that's why we were saying if you're using a random digit table, you only need how many digits? 2, right? Yes. Very good.
So can you do Tom, ours is 1 through 6 and 13 through
No. Because remember, that's a convenience sample, right?
Okay.
You're randomly selecting.
Okay.
So when you look at your random digit table, right, the largest golfer number is 24. So when I look at the random digit table, choose any line to start at, and then you can use 2 digits at a time, right? So when I look here, if I were to start here, now if I start here, line 6, right? You don't have 62, so you skip it. You don't have 49, skip it. You have a 9, so you would use 9. You don't have 92, you do have a 15. So remember, you're randomly selecting those golfers.
So how we know what number we're supposed to be? How we did yesterday, we had to get.
Well, you're looking
a number under 24,
right, because that's the highest golfer ID number, and then you're going to use their scores to get averages. Okay? All right, who's got their homework ready?
True. Okay, so wait. And we're looking at the scores, right?
You're averaging the scores, correct.
Are
Are you doing the work? No.
I am thinking.
What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about?
You better use the golf right.
What about it? Because you're randomly selecting golfers. You haven't even started using the random digit table. Huh? That's okay. Use a different line now. It doesn't matter what line you select. Use a different line. Yes, ma'am.
Man, it's in my mouth. It's science.
Thought I had something trying to add.
I want to use the Pythagorean theorem.
Well, that's not what we're studying right now.
Are we gonna ever?
No, because we're in algebra 2.
What I mean? We don't. Say swear.
Outside of class time, sure.
I'm tired of using words.
Put them up on the student work center once you're done. Yes, ma'am. 1 comma 24. And then you can just hit enter until you get all 6. Or, by the way, you don't have to random seed every time. Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly, I should have mentioned this. You don't have to randomly seed the calculator every single day. You just do that once, and then it sets the calculators at different points. Right? So you don't have to random seed today. You just use random integer when you use the random number generator. It'll give you like I'm crazy. You remember when we had to randomly seed using our birthday? Okay. You don't have to do that today. You're done. It's done. You're good to go. So 1 comma 24, and then you can put how many do you want?
Oh yeah, I was.
So there's I think 6, right? Oh, that over here. Yeah, 6 scores.
And then we just add on.
So you average the 6. You got those 6 in a row?
Yeah, under 24, right?
Randomly?
Like we gotta keep on like this, right?
No, you need to randomly select using the random digit table. Go to the random digit table.
Right here. Wait, hold on. It's on page 90.
Yes, Matt. Yes, that's a random digit table. Remember, you have to randomly select. You can't just choose.
This is what I was thinking. So yesterday, normally go as high as 348, right?
Right. Today was the highest you can go.
It's 24, right?
Right.
That's why I was talking about my email.
Right.
So what about the scores?
Well, you're averaging the scores. You need to figure out which golfers you're looking at, and then you'll average the scores. You skip the 22. The second 22.
What's the highest I don't need to do 24, do I?
Do you have a 28th golfer?
No, I meant like I'm on line 7, right?
Scratch through that one. Say
I'm
again.
on line 7, right?
Okay, sure.
So I start off with 24. What's your plan by 2, right?
Well, so you would use golfer 24. So circle the 24. No, 24. Yep. So then go ahead and what I would do is I would circle golfer 24 and its score. Alright. Then 21. Okay, so you don't have 66. So you can scratch through it. No 34, no 44, 21. Wait, I thought you were going to use 21. Oh, you already did 21, you're right. No 20, no 28, no, I mean 30. So you gotta be careful. You did 21, 28. There is no 30. No 70, no 44. 92, 72, 93, 72, 94, 13. Okay. Homework. Who has their homework turn in? Our names all on this? Let's find out. Someone doesn't have a name. Alasia. What group are you in?
I was
Talk to
helping
your
her.
group.
I'm sorry.
She can talk to her group.
They don't know what they're doing either.
Ask them. And I know that someone knows what they're doing.
Mine do, but I'm gonna let you.
I didn't ask you to talk to mine. She's in a different group. I asked you to talk to your group. And it looks like some of us are using the random digit table well. You don't need to log in to use the calculator. I don't know why it's not working right now. I'll have to restart my computer.
Once you get the 6 golf,
Okay. Well, identify those 6 golfers, and then you're going to average their scores.
We add
Those are the golfer IDs. What's the first number you circled? So go to golfer 14. Do. So circle the score for that golfer. You're going to use that score. You're going to average the scores. Okay? Let's keep working. Whoops, sorry. Looks like I got 2, 3 of the homeworks. Yes, I do.
Alright, keep it that way. Calculate.
Would you prefer like a just like a decent size?
I did not know.
I think we did middle thing.
Oh, yeah. Move, man.
Hey, can I see this?
Because the marks impossible.
No, you put it out.
I'm very happy because I was down like
Go make your move like inside. I feel little now.
Bro, why do you do that? What I told you? That's the wrong one.
She mad at me.
Oh, wait, I need
So what you do here on the range is
Here, take mine. Can you honestly, we're up Madison. I didn't know.
Can you finish?
so you went, you start up. So you
Can you
take
finish?
Oh, ain't that
Right, so 14, we don't have 54, we don't
I
have.
didn't know her. Went to work.
But you don't like it. I'm not even doing no problem. It's just
If you in a situation,
you stuck the why you making a paper? There's a lot. Oh God, that's not
you finish what you were saying?
She mad at us because we're friends.
I don't like it. I don't even talk to her no more. She got she don't show me that.
My behalf.
It's like, okay, well, she, I think that's the she don't show me that exactly. She just fakes. Yeah,
But you know, I don't be caring though. I don't know.
she could put out
Me and her don't talk no more, but at the same time she talking to somebody else.
because it was scared. He ain't even know.
I was like,
My first day.
She does good, man. She does
It's the freak out. Okay. I hope the camera comes in. Cause he got a stapler. They probably say the airplane.
I'm sorry. Okay,
Not touching me. Just his I think I seen you at Zaxby's once. Dude, I be tearing Zaxby's up. I go there every day to the point that workers know my name.
Right after I lost it.
That's sad, but I be tearing that shit up. He keeps giving me the same number.
Are all of y'all done?
Okay, I got him like, I ain't gonna help you. Dude,
Like,
you got
where, so see where you identify these,
I
right?
got my cup of my Salida. Bro, my OCD is everything in order.
So you said that you're supposed to use the table once and the range number generator. And then I said, show me the averages using the right symbol. Say again.
Hey, I think the camera caught that.
That won't affect anything. So you need the table.
She's not in here.
I just write out.
None of us in there for
I
real.
might just say the table or the circle and use a box to represent the random number generator, or you can use but what I want to point out is you two thought you were done, but not everyone was done. Y'all should have been talking to those in your group to work with them and help them.
What is the simple
Okay, what's up?
I mean, not simple. What is the stratified? So how you do it?
What is the thing?
You working there?
You should work it.
I quit.
The average what?
You quit that? No. Because I was eating. Oh. That lady gave me 2 free cookies because she knew my daddy and his home.
I
wonder how she knew
them.
them.
Golf right team.
You know they go
That's
way
just
back.
identifying the golfer.
Way back
We
out.
want to know what their average was.
Every time she be on shift, she
Right.
don't do it.
So identify the scores for those 6 people and find the average.
Max is trying to say something.
You be doing her work.
She says
So thank you.
Well, no, I mean, I
Thank
get
you.
the same numbers.
Okay, I'm getting the same question in a lot of places. Guys, you need to understand that the random digit table, the random number generator, is to identify which golfer you're going to use. But we want the average of their what? Scores. You're just trying to average their scores. Okay? But you need to be able to randomly select the golfers. So we use the random digit table, and you do it a second time with the random number generator to get the golfers, and then you average the scores. That's exactly what you did yesterday. You identified which word it was by where it was within the song, and then you averaged how many letters there were. We good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try to finish this up in the next 4 to 5 minutes. I know it might take a little bit longer than that, but we do need to get to the next thing today. Yes. Huh?
Because he got 2 reports wrong.
So if you get the same, no, so you would skip that one. So you've already used golfer 24. You would move to the next number. Does that make sense? That's a good question.
How do you create a stratified rating? Because I got my first answer.
Y'all good? Done? Okay.
my other manager, she on shift.
Make sure that you're working with others and y'all are all good. Anybody have any questions about that? So like if you use the same number on the calculator or on the random digit table, so you would be using the same golfer. You don't want to use the same golfer. So you would just skip that number and then move to the next one.
All the same numbers.
I said I've been a slave for nobody who don't know what.
Then just skip it until you get a total of 6, right? We need 6 different golfers.
They used to test some more.
No, so where's your, so you would just do the next one. Oh, I got you. 12, 13, 10, 11, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you would do this at the table.
Probability, right?
Okay, so where you did up here. So the next one after that 10 would be 4. So you would just
Yeah.
does that make sense? So yeah, if you have one that repeats and you find the next one. Yes.
Give a stapler. Because I said print out a big old.
I didn't mean to. Okay?
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
It's proof.
Hold up. Hold up. We're not using the space. Throw it up.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, on this, well, I deleted my computer. Okay, so I got my goals right now. I was jumping here, right? It came up to 381.
No, you sum their scores.
And then you divide.
No, look at
Okay.
it.
But that's not the average. The sum of the scores is 381.
381, and then you divide by 5 or 6.
Okay, so what's the average?
So 63.5.
So I put that into the random number generator, right? Those are the ones I got.
No way, it's 63.5. Check your numbers again and make sure you added all of them in there. Here's the thing, the reason why I know it's not 68.5, your lowest number is 68. So the average can't be below your lowest number.
Okay, so how would you do it? Alright, I got lush percent.
We're not doing any of those. Remember, I only asked you to do number 1 with the random digit table and with the random number generator. Now divide by 6. That's your average. That's the average score. Now you need to do it again with the random number generator. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these numbers, I got
So remember, this is to identify which golfer. That's so that you can use the random number generator, but you're trying to average the scores for those golfers.
Okay, but
Huh? So you remember yesterday when we like looked at the 382nd word, right?
I did.
And I just made that one up. Or the 315th word, right? So then the 315th word had 4
And I
letters.
got big.
Same thing here. That's to help us identify which golfer it is. We want to know the average score for those golfers. So you're averaging the scores for those golfers. So is this your random digit table? This the pencil? So 72 plus 75 plus 79 plus 75 plus 69 plus 70, all divided by 6. Because you're going to average the scores. That's just to identify the golfer. First off, you have to put 1 in comma, but it's not 73. Two things. Slow down and listen. 1, the lowest golfer number identifier is 1. What's the highest identifier? Nope.
Oh, my bad. 24.
Right. So it's 1 to 24. But rand doesn't give you that. You need random integer.
Oh, true. You're so
Right? Right, but you don't average the golfer ID numbers, you average the scores instead. So like for the random digit table, right? Golfer 1 has a score of 72 plus. Golfer 2 has 75 plus. Golfer 13 has a score of 79 plus. Golfer 16 has 75 plus. 20 has 69 plus. 23 has a score of 7. I add them all together and I divide by how many there were. That's the average for those 6 golfers. That's the average score for those 6. Remember, that's just to identify the golfer. But you're averaging their scores to know what is a typical score they got. Does that explain it?
You're getting 6 scores.
How's this group doing? Pretty plenty of right? Almost. Have you done with the random digit table and the random number generator?
I'm trying to. So, 5 number 9.
Should we do it for one of those?
74.
Which one did you use? Did you use the random digit table or the calculator? So remember, I was asking you to do it the second time to get practice, but you do the random number generator as well. Right? So do it that second time as well. So you're going to do the same thing, right? So you got your average like that table. Now, am I using a different color or different maybe fonts this time? Randomly select golfers, right? To find a random number generator on the calculator. Larry, like this homework? How are y'all on the digit table and the number generator?
72.5.
It may, but you just skip it until you get 6 down.
Circles already average again.
Well, because remember, it makes every number equally likely to be
I'm saying like,
golfers get the same number multiple times. And you just skip it and you're like, you already did it with random table and random number generator? Say again? So you got the 2 different averages? Yeah, because you should have 1 average from the random digit table and 1 average from the random number generator. You randomly selected golfers 2 different times, right? So you get an average, you use the random digit table ones to select golfers, and you average their scores. You did it a second time with the calculator using the random number generator. You select those 6 golfers and you average their scores.
So 26.
guess you're gonna be 76.
Okay. I didn't collect all y'all's homework.
Green child protection.
Yep, you got those two out. Come on, can you keep going?
Yeah, I'm
Well, let me help them with mine. Are you done with yours actually?
So the random number.
You're already done with it? Not basically, but you finish up. I'll help Keith. You can use 24. So you would use, yeah, that's perfectly fine. So what's the issue? Right, so then again, you got 11, which you already have. And then 3, you don't have that one. So 2, 22, 8, 6, 23.
Yeah, but you probably just did those numbers, right? That's important. You have to do these numbers beside it.
True.
So for number 2, your age will be 75. I would round up.
You know how people that say
75.2.
that like they're not just
You do better
athletes?
with this time?
That's not me.
Okay, so I would.
Okay. I'm just an athlete. I ain't got no brains. I ain't got no. Props to those people that can better scholars. I mean,
Okay, but the thing is, it said 20 twice, so I can't,
Huh?
you say, it can't let me know that.
That's perfect.
I know until I set another
Are you good
thing
with
up.
that though?
what are they running for?
Wait, where is that?
Huh?
How'd you
What are
get
they running
the
for?
73.3?
The girl is running at 9 in the morning.
Oh, that was the random digit table, and then you did that one on
She
your
was
own.
scurrying too.
Coach Redmond.
But I was supposed to have 6, but 20 were repeated. So I gotta add 6 times, right?
No. No. These numbers, right, for the random number
How are y'all guys?
for that.
No.
No, don't do that. Because we only have 24. Okay, so hold on. Oh, she was correct.
So you're supposed to average,
This is correct.
right? So
We're gonna be focusing on numbers. So we're going to do line 19. 17, okay?
is that what you did?
So 64, you have that number. 4, you have that number?
Oh, actually, no, I think I know.
You have 19? You have 19?
Right there. I'm not going on that. Not going on that.
Alright, 11?
Alita, where you moving over?
Can you have 11?
I'm saying it's at.
How did you get those numbers? Okay, so
So,
You gotta take your whole.
I'm not you have.
So you can't sit over there.
I cannot.
You can't sit.
So I got your 6 numbers.
I'm not going already up there.
Alright, so you have 4 first. So 4 is 78. Plus you have 19 next.
keep adding.
19 is 68.
Something like that. You divide by 6.
11.
Now, you may need to come in, or you may need to write down your question or something, so they show you how to use it.
10 is 77.
Okay, so you understand that? But you may need to come in and we'll talk about it a little bit more, to make sure you understand how you use the random stuff as well. Thank you, thank you. All right, we have got to continue and move to the next little activity. Look, please understand, because I think this is one of the biggest sources of confusion. If you're using a random digit table, you need a number associated with every single data point. That's what the golfer ID number is, to identify those different golfers. And when you randomly select, it's going to identify a golfer, right? So maybe a 4, maybe an 8. This isn't really what's happening because I'm not randomly selecting. But once you identify the golfer, they have scores associated with them. If you look at the context up here, right? No, it doesn't show, what is it here? Oh, calculate the average of your sample. They should have been more clear on that. The average score. The golfer ID number is just to tell you which golfer we're referring to. and then we're averaging their scores. Just like you had to find maybe the 382nd word, and then you found how many letters were in that word. Then you would find the 802nd, no, y'all didn't have that many because y'all didn't do crazy in love. Then you found the 201st word, and you found out how many letters were in that word. You have an identifier using the random number generator, and then you average the values associated with that. What are your questions before we continue? Okay. Sure, Madison? Okay. Look, please don't hesitate to ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. I will also remind you tomorrow we do have an understanding check. I'll be here early for tutoring if you need it. So please don't hesitate to come up. But we're going to actually go backwards in the book at this point. We're going to go to like M5-7 or so. Yep. So Module 5 is all about statistics. What we're going to learn about, I may have lied about the number. No, crushed it. Perfect. All right. It is M5-7 is where we are right now. All right. So we're going to look at this idea of constructing a histogram, and we're going to talk about analyzing the key features of a histogram, and we're going to talk about interpreting the mean and standard deviation. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I will have you calculate means. I'm not going to have you calculate standard deviations. I'm going to ask you to just interpret standard deviations. If you take AP Stats, you'll learn how to calculate all that kind of stuff. But what are the key features of a histogram? That's just a type of graph. What are those key features I'm going to be referring to or asking you to look at?
Are you talking key terms or like?
Key features of a histogram. It's not in the book. It's something I've already talked about in class. The what? The center, the shape,
The mean.
the spread,
Oh.
and the unusual aspects. When I ask you to analyze the features of a graph, a histogram, talking about center, unusual aspect, shape, spread, cuss. That's the aspects, all right? By the way, just so you know, this will not be on your assessment tomorrow, okay? It's only going to go through the random sampling stuff. That's it, okay? So I'm going to skip the warm-up because I came up with something better for us to work on. Yes, we are going to look at what it means to, actually, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to stress about discrete versus continuous. You can cross through that. We're going to talk about the rest of these terms pretty heavily though. Okay? So we will get on to the other terms. And so,
What would you do?
I'm trying to think for a second where I put it. Okay. So we'll move through to get there pretty quick. So I don't think I need this anymore since we're not doing discrete and continuous. We don't. Okay. We're going to skip the getting started. You don't need this since we're not talking about discrete versus continuous data. We are going to go here to 1.1 normal distributions. Okay. 1.1, first off, and I hope this will help you with the idea of sample versus population a little bit even more getting ready for tomorrow, but they define